Okay, you're live.
Okay, let's call to order the special council meeting for, what is today, February 16th? And you have something to read for us, City Clerk.
Yes. The procedures adopted for this meeting meet or exceed the standards set forth in the Governor Newsom's Order N-25-20, which allows public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, I will conduct roll call and would ask the mayor to recognize me afterwards to confirm certain matters for the record.
Okay.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Present.
Councilmember Burrows,
Present.
Councilmember Zafar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here,
Oh, that's
you have
three
the
to
floor,
two.
City Clerk. I was thinking the same thing.
Based on the responses to roll call, the record should reflect that all council members can hear the proceedings clearly. If there are no objections,
None?
the record will further reflect that each council member believes, based on voice or facial recognition or otherwise, that the persons representing themselves to be council members are in fact council members.
We are.
Seeing no objection, I will turn the meeting back over to the mayor with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call.
Okay, thank you. I just realized that the front agenda that I have is for traffic. So let me guess, is our next thing public comment?
It is, yes.
Okay, is there anybody? I don't see, there's one attendee that wishes to speak to anything. It'd be Heidi Keniston Lee if you want to speak to something. Actually, it's just the agenda item if she wants to speak to. Heidi, did you want to speak before us tonight? Public comment is open. Going once, going twice. Last chance to raise the little blue hand or *9. Seeing none, we will go back to the panelists. And I believe the item before us tonight is the Economic Development Advisory Committee appointments. And we, again, as we were speaking before the meeting, have 5 regular seats to fill, 1 alternate vacancy, and 1 business owner. And these will be for terms to run through January of 2023. There's nobody that's left, correct? These full term, 2-year thingamajigs. Okay, having said that, our first person that I believe we have to speak tonight, and if he's here, I don't see him on there yet, is Jason Gong. So when Jason gets here, we'll put Jason in, and again, we will ask 1 question each, have about 2 minutes. There won't be any opening or any closing, and we'll just move right through these tonight. Still no Jason. Well, we'll hang in there and see if he can get there. Can't move ahead of him anyway, because there's nobody else there unless Heidi wants to run for EDAC. Jason's here. All right, Jason, come on out. Come on down, whatever it is. And once we get him live, you'll have the floor. Okay, Jason, can you hear me? Unmute, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, we're gonna make this real easy for you tonight. Each of us is gonna ask you 1 question, probably take about 10 minutes to do this. No opening, no closing.
Okay.
No, at the end of the night, we will choose 5 people from the 47 that applied, or what is it, 17?
47.
Yeah, and 1 alternate and 1 business owner. So I will ask you, because we show only 1 business owner. Are you also a business owner in San Ramon?
I am not.
Okay. I'll ask the first question, then Sabina, Sridhar, Mark, and then Scott. My question is, in your view, how important is housing to economic development? I think I asked the same question last time.
A variation of that question. I think your question was whether I supported the housing in the PDAs. I think housing is a critical component of economic development. It goes hand in hand. Number one, it property values and property tax generators. It also, of course, feeds into employment. Workers have to go somewhere to go eat. Residents have to go somewhere to go eat, and so forth. They're a critical component, especially in a growing city like San Ramon. Very, very important.
Jason.
Sure.
Sabina.
Jason, nice to see
Hi.
you. Hey.
Nice to see you again.
So my question is around the impact of COVID-19 and the impact it's had on businesses. What do what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in the recovery of San Ramon's economy once
Right.
we get out of the pandemic? and go to normal again whenever that happens?
Sure. That's a really important point, and maybe I'll answer it in two ways, because I think one that something that's we haven't really addressed, we kind of touched upon, I think in my judgment, have overlooked a little bit, and that is currently now, what can we do about it? You know, as an advisory committee, we're not empowered to make declarations, but we certainly are able to ask questions and advocate for businesses. I know that the city has retained and also extended the contract for Townsend, but one thing that I have not heard is the extent of the outreach that's being done to, for anyone from the city, whether it's EDAC or the consultants themselves, and reaching out to people who have not contacted them for services and help. So there, in my mind, I don't know if is there a segment of a population of businesses that aren't aware that the city is offering help through Townsend to sign up for these aids that are available. And the aid is substantial. I saw the recent not the podcast, but it was the webinar. I guess it was a Zoom meeting. I saw both of them. And the most recent one, which was about 45 minutes long, that had a lot of information in there. And I dare say that a lot of business owners are too busy and too worried about how to make rent than to go read an email to say, I should go tune in at this time. So one thought I had was perhaps EDAC as either a subcommittee or just a group of volunteers go and be tasked with the job of contacting maybe shopping center by shopping center, walking into the doors and asking people, are you aware of these programs? Because it's very time sensitive. I know that the numbers that I've heard in terms of businesses that have signed up are pretty impressive, but 70 something businesses or 50 businesses, I don't think that captures the majority of businesses in San Ramon. So that's one part. The second part is once we get through COVID, which is still a process, I think we're still probably about 8 months to a year out. EDAC previously had gone through the Economic Development Strategic Plan, and we had enumerated priorities in terms of short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals that we want to pursue and to push to develop economic development in the city. So I would say we would probably resume that list again, but also take a quick look at what we might have to adjust our expectations. But my answer is the more immediate concerns. I'd like to find out now what the current need is for aid and survival, economic survival and recovery.
Thank you, Jason. Sridhar Burrows.
Hi, Jason.
Hello, Sridhar.
Jason, advise 3 key development strategies to support and expand city existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute economic development, to economic development.
Three key, what was that? How did you describe that?
So 3 key development strategies that you think of. What would be?
So this is as far as developing business and not dealing with current business?
Like one is to expand the existing and also attracting new businesses.
Okay, sure. So let's, I'm going to answer that within the realm of we're not dealing with COVID, because I think right now it's pretty difficult to attract businesses and to expand on businesses if we don't know how businesses are currently doing. Like their whole thing is just, how do I survive? I'm concerned about rent. I'm concerned about, this lease that I just signed with my landlord. I'm concerned whether I'm going to be around 6 months from now. But if we assume for a moment that has stabilized, and we're talking about attracting new businesses once we're through COVID, I think the priorities would be, one, for EDAC. We had started something as far as a dialogue with the shopping center owners because we wanted to know what their goals were. The complaint, or sort of the ask that we hear a lot from our neighbors and other people, is that how come San Ramon, we don't have certain businesses? We always thought, my thought is to go directly to the stakeholders and ask them. So one of the things I think would be to identify what are the goals and needs of the shopping center owners themselves, and how can we support them in terms of identifying, giving our input, not so much telling them what to do, but our input from the resident standpoint of what businesses are needed. So really understanding what their needs are, and then giving the ability to give our input on the types of businesses that we think can succeed and or lacking in San Ramon. I think also another thing is one thing we had talked about in the committee is to take like a survey of not businesses, but of residents, of what types of businesses they'd like to see and what types of services are lacking. One example that came up, this is more on a long-term range, is the Village Center in Doherty Valley. It's a new development. It's like I think the last piece of undeveloped land. There's a great opportunity there in terms of trying to shape that center more like a village concept, to meet the needs of the residents. And then a third, well, I can't think of a third one right now. They all kind of overlap. It's just more understanding what the needs are of the business owners themselves. What can we do to give them input? And then also getting input from the residents.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
So Member Armstrong.
Hi, Jason. My question is, if a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon, say to Bishop Ranch, post-pandemic, this could mean more traffic in San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
So I think post-pandemic, number one, I think we probably want to see what the traffic patterns are like post-pandemic. The majority of businesses nowadays have people working remotely, including the large companies. And Google, for example, has already said they're going to indefinitely allow workers to work remotely. So I think my hunch is we're probably going to see a decrease in traffic. Currently now, I think everyone would probably agree that traffic is pretty down. It's pretty easy to navigate. So one, I would want to find out from the employer, and even beyond the employer, existing employers, what their policies are like now for their employees for remote commutes or remote working from home. So I think that's going to play into the types of traffic you're going to anticipate, and then types of models you're going to use to try to plan development or plan having a major employer come in. So I'd start with that first to really identify what we're dealing with.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Scott?
Well, this one ought to be, this is a softball pitch to you there, Jason. But
You never give softball, Scott, but
Yeah.
I welcome it.
I don't trust him either. Something's wrong, Jason.
Have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan?
Have I read it?
Forgot.
I have a second. That's a yes, no.
Oh, okay.
What is
Yes, I
your
read it.
priority for this coming year? Your priority for this coming year?
I think starting number one, what I mentioned with Sabina, I want to take I would like to see an ability of our committee to read the pulse of the business community. And I would maybe suggest identifying by shopping centers, probably to break it down that way, to see what the current environment is, what businesses have survived, what businesses have left. Because our goal is to retain and attract, and it's hard to know what to do or what we're doing. We don't know what is here and what still, what their circumstances are. So I like to see that first. Secondly, I'd like to resume where we had started in committee about a year ago before the pandemic, and that is to start getting shopping center owners back into EDAC, as I mentioned to Sridhar, to ask them, what are your goals? The marketplace is kind of a hot topic right now as far as what their goals are for housing and the whole thing with Nob Hill. What are their goals? We'd like to find that out, and I think then we have a better understanding of what the needs are for shopping centers. We can also relate and give our input and advice from the resident standpoint. And then thirdly, I'd like to resume, because we had built a fair amount of momentum, but unfortunately got cut off, our kind of discussions and working along with Discover San Ramon. That's a lot of money that's left unspent. Currently, the hotels can't do anything about it. People can't stay in hotels right now. That's the problem. But we had discussions. I attended one meeting as well where they're going to roll out a branding campaign. The branding campaign is going to go hand in hand with what the city needs. A lot of input that I've heard, and people are saying, well, how do you identify the city? How would you describe San Ramon? We need to brand the city to make it attractive. So those are sort of my immediate priorities. I'd like to resume the activity that we had started. We put a lot of work into that, but suddenly COVID just cut everything off.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you know the drill. We'll be taking a vote at the end of the night. And
Yes.
City clerk will notify you tomorrow. And thank you for applying once again. We're going to keep this ball rolling. We got
Okay.
a full sheet.
I know you
Thank
do.
again. Our next person to come up will be.
Thanks for everyone.
Jennifer. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Jennifer
Bye-bye.
Shun. Hope I pronounced that right. Is she here yet? Okay, let's kick Jennifer in and we'll start off the questioning. Same question, same lineup. Jennifer, can you hear me? Can you unmute?
Yes.
Okay, Jennifer, we're
Hold
each
on.
gonna ask you one question. You don't have to do an introduction. You don't have to do a closing. We got a lot of people apply tonight. And we'll just give you about 2 minutes max on each question. I will start it off. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
Well, with this pandemic, Ramon actually benefited from non-commercial. So to me, housing is important. Plus, we need to follow the government state's recommendation. We need to provide more housing. So from my view, housing is important. The tax revenue, the income to the city, and we need to provide residents safe, comfortable place to stay. And actually knowing that the economy is moving from San Francisco to the Bay Area, and you probably know that Oakland, Berkeley, their housing price, well, they have more people want to move to there than moving into San Francisco. So the Bay Area, the East Bay Area is a hot area. So housing is important. It brings us revenue, and with the ADU, we can build more houses, and that's an income for the city as well. So it is important for
Thank
our
you,
economy.
Jennifer. Councilmember Zafar.
Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
So my question is that with the impact of COVID-19 on our current businesses, what role do you think EDAC can play in helping San Ramon economy and businesses recover post-COVID?
Okay, we started a job to bring the business, the restaurant, so that they can eat, clients can eat outside. I think we need to continue that. We didn't know the importance of street eating, or not street eating, meaning the restaurant allow customers to eat outside. And we started this because of pandemic. And now this is a new area. Before pandemic, we talked about in the Coquitlam shopping mall, we can decrease the size of the parking lot, and but allow restaurant to set up tables in outside their area, outside the building. And this is one area I would like to see we continue to do this. And we see people set up some tents for outside eating in the winter time. And why not, right? We started, we never took it more seriously than now. And now we see that's an area we can use. We don't need, people said at our EDAC meeting that the parking lot was not full. Knowing this, we need to help the restaurant to expand their business, not only during the pandemic time, but also afterwards. And we can afford to provide more customers enjoy the lunch, and we can also increase the customers. I personally love eating outside, and there are more people can do this. Why not? So this is an area we can look into and do more.
Thank you. Councilmember Veros.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Jennifer, advise 3 key development strategies to support and expand city existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute to city economic development.
Okay, and I'm going to say the Costco thing first, the Costco gas station. I fully support that. And I received the email, received mails. We need to sending our opinion. Yes, that's definitely a plus. Why not? One concern people had was the gas will be out of date. But Costco with their representatives, when they reported to us, they say they would have those clean energy stations available as well. So to us, there's no burden, no cost on our side. We can do this and we need to do this. And in my mind, we lost Costco to Danville. This is our chance. Don't lose this one.
Thank you for
And
reminding me,
yes.
Jennifer. I was there. Okay, Councilmember Armstrong.
Oh, okay, you were there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm so passionate about that. We need it. And right now I go to Livermore to get my gas. I don't want to drive that far. Livermore,
Okay.
Costco.
Councilmember Armstrong has a question. Do you drive? No, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, and
I
another
Wait,
thing.
let him ask the question. Go ahead, Jennifer. You answered that one perfectly. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mark.
Jennifer, my question to you is that if a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and say, do business in Bishop Ranch, this is post-pandemic, this could potentially mean more traffic in San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development with the potential increase in traffic?
How do we balance? And the working hours, we can be flexible. Doesn't have to be 8 to 5. And particularly nowadays, we're talking about high-tech companies. So it doesn't mean everyone has to be in the office 8 to 5. And I personally, I have a high-tech background. Yes, I did remote. Well, nowadays people are doing remote. So with the population in San Ramon, we have 50% of residents with master's degrees. So we have the human resources. We have the we have people with high tech potentials. I would highly recommend companies to come here. We have the resource here to be employed, and the traffic impact compared with other industries might not be as serious as with high tech. So that's one strength we have because of our residents. And also nowadays you still have people working from home. That's another place, another plus. So the impact is not as strong as before.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan?
I only glanced. Yes, what's your question?
What is your priority for this year?
The priority is to bring business back to San Ramon and increase the housing. And I know we have a plan to build more apartments in the marketplace, that area, and we have apartment in in Bishop Ranch. Those are good, and we need to continue with this. Bay Area housing is on high demand. We need to continue building houses. And another thing is bring business. For existing business, how can we help them to attract more customers? One thing the city did wonderfully is the farmers market. I go there every weekend. I saw how small compared with before. It was smaller, and look now, it's big. So the location choice was good. Now we have a bigger space, it's open, it just feel comfortable. I go there, and I am so glad to see every time the lines were so long. Have you seen the food truck? How long it was? Okay, and so I'm so happy to see that. The farmers market, we did it successfully, right? And look at the place before and the place now. Look at the number of people showed up every Saturday. And sometimes I go there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was a line. Can you believe that? You probably know that. And there's some farmers. They say they come really early, so I go there really early to pick up the most fresh ones. So this is another area we can do better. The words are out, people are buying, and you can also call the farmers to reserve items. That's another thing we can promote to help the farmers so that they are willing to come. And of course, we need to make the procedure even easier for them to come. Or the fees, I don't know, that whatever, we are doing better. We're doing good now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. You know the drill. We will be taking a vote later tonight, and our city clerk will let you know the results tomorrow. Again, thank you for applying. We're going to keep moving on to the next one because they must love EDAC in his city. Now, thank you for applying. Our next candidate is Wade Luckhart, and if we could promote Wade. I forgot to ask her if she was business, but she said high tech, so I'm going to assume she's not a business owner.
Work for the school district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She works in the school district, yeah.
Okay. So, Wade, can you hear me? Gotta unmute you. Okay, Wade, are you in? There you go.
I am.
Okay, congratulations, Wade. So far, you're the only person that has applied for the business owner seat. We're going to ask you 5 questions. You don't have to do an opening or a closing. We're going to keep this thing going because there's a lot of people that applied, and we want to thank you for your application. I will start it off. The first question is, in your view, how important is housing to economic development?
Well, I find housing and transportation is the 2 most important pieces of how we can build our the business environment within the city.
Thank you. Our next question will be from Councilmember Zafar.
Hi, Wade. Nice to
Hi,
see
Sonia.
you. So my question is around the impact of COVID-19 on our current businesses. And what role do you think EDAC can play in helping the San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Yeah, I have found that the city has done a great job of communicating and I think putting together programs through third-party contractors to help the businesses get through this process. I think we can also, through various, I think, media and connections, contact more businesses and focus on what we can do to help them. I think the piece I think we need to do is increase the communication so that people aren't confused what's open, what isn't open. The county has a great website, but I think we really have to get out and touch base with particularly the small businesses. But I also know that I've gone into office buildings in my work to assist businesses, and there's a lot of lack of awareness, I guess is the best way to put it. So communication, I think, is one of the keys. And I think the city does a pretty good job, but I think there's an area of opportunity to expand on that.
Thank you, Wade. Councilmember Barros.
Hi, Wade.
Yes, you are.
Wade, advise key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Just as a bit of a background, you may know that I was on the advisory committee a couple years ago. And so I think, and I don't know what necessarily transpired last year, but I think the concept of putting together a packet and communicating to commercial real estate people in terms of what the city can do for them and the advantages that the city has is one way of pushing forward our story. The second thing in terms of touching base with businesses that are here in terms of what we can do to help, one of the things we run into, and it's a big one that we had in terms of a roundtable of businesses, is the permitting and the process of how they can get through starting a business, expanding a business, building within the city. And I know that a lot of it also is state and county oriented, but if the city can help in terms of how to communicate that process, I think that'll be very, very helpful. And it's something that we're always challenged on in terms of dealing with small businesses as well as large businesses that are interested in the city, coming into the city, but also staying and expanding within the city.
Good. Councilmember Armstrong, and let me ask, do you prefer Wade or William?
Wade is the name I go by. William is my legal first name, but Wade is my my known name at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Yeah, hi, Wade. If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and say come to Bishop Ranch post-pandemic, it could mean more traffic in San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Well, I think there's a series of things that we should be aware of. And my background was that I believe there was some information that there are more people coming into this city than leaving the city for business. We're actually net in terms of businesses and employees in the city. I think the concept of the traffic flow has improved dramatically with Bishop Ranch. On Bollinger, they have that lane that is basically allows people to flow. I think the transportation and the fact that Bishop Ranch is right on 680 is very much a help. There could be additional information in terms of how we get the flow in and out, but I don't think necessarily Bishop Ranch particular is an issue. I think there are possible issues further into the city, but most of the business is right on 680. So it's really, I don't think transportation is as big an issue unless we ramp up mass transit, which is again, something that the city can help. Certainly Bishop Ranch does with their assistance to the county transportation system. That would be certainly an opportunity because mass transit is the answer. Whether or not we get there is a whole other story.
We're getting there. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Thank you.
Wade, have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan?
I sure did. And again, as a background, I was chairman of the Chamber of Commerce a couple years ago. And I'm sorry, whole time is thrown off. In 2019, we had a roundtable of businesses, the Economic Development Committee, as well as the city. And I think the idea would be, I went through that. We actually had a great conversation on it. So yes, I am aware of that.
What would be your priority for the committee this year?
Well, I'd have to review exactly what occurred last year, but I know everything was up in the air with COVID and everything being Zoom meetings. But the idea would be, again, how do we package and communicate to both employers coming in or interested in, as well as employers here in terms of how we can, i.e. the city and the business environment or businesses that are here, what can we do to help you do your business and expand your business in the future?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wade. We are going to take a vote tonight. I think you're in pretty good shape unless somebody has hidden that they're a business owner in town. You can expect to get a letter tomorrow from Christina thanking you for your application and putting you back on economic development through January of 2023. And
Great.
again, thank you for applying. We're going to keep moving real quick here because we've got an awful lot of applicants tonight, but we do appreciate your being with us tonight.
Great. Thanks a lot and have a good evening.
You too. Our next candidate would be Stephen Breed. If he is here, we'll let him in.
He is not signed in yet.
Yeah, we're pretty close though, so. We are pretty close. A lot of paper. My goodness. Vincent DiMaggio is no longer doing it. Okay. Just a cinnamon. If I was smart, I would have put these things in the order that we're doing it. Okay, so when he comes in, I'm not even looking at this. You'll just punch him in. Okay, Ganesh is down the road. All right. Into the wheat thins.
Do we know who JS is? Hey, Mark, is this all the fun you hoped it would be?
Well, it's exceeding my every expectation.
In many, many ways, no doubt.
Will we miss the teen council meeting tonight?
I think either one of us has got to punch out or.
No, you're not missing this fun. I'll go for both of you. Okay, well, we'll give them till it's time. And I don't think it would be JS.
What's for dinner, Dave?
Wheat thins, Girl Scout cookies. But I'm staying away from coffee
Why?
because I got Coke.
So Scott
Put out the
had
window.
decided to come into the office.
Pardon?
I was telling Scott, I decided to come into the office and then I couldn't figure out the lights because they're behind the furniture.
Oh,
And they was, of course, this is where they are. So yes, there's boxes.
I was looking for something about 4 or 5 months ago. That's why I found it. Well,
Sabina, is your division broken off from from GE, or is it still part of GE?
There's still GE. It got a new life pumped into it. So for a while, yeah, there was conversations of breaking off, selling off, and that was a very interesting year. But we got a new CEO, and so we had a CEO for 13 years, Jeff Emmelt, and then we had Flannery for 1 year, and then we got Larry Culp, who's been there a couple of years, and he's really revived a lot of the credibility in the company back, and yeah, added a lot of structure, I would say.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
interesting
digital.
how one person can make such a big impact.
yeah, Jack
Yeah.
Walsh.
What do we know, Christine?
We would bring him back.
Steve is having connection issues, so he's going to try to troubleshoot and then log back in about an hour when we have that break time.
Okay,
So we can take Krupa next once she logs back in.
once she logs in, we'll go. Okay.
The project my son was, oh, there we go.
I'll go ahead and let Krupa in right now.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me, Krupa? Can you unmute?
Yes.
Okay, Krupa, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to give you each one question, take up to about 2 minutes to answer it. You don't have to do an opening. You don't have to do a closing. Got so many people applied for this that we're trying to keep it down to 10 minutes. And we have your resume in front of us. So let's start it off with my question. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
I think housing is key to economic development. I think the people that we can bring into our city, the economic profile that our citizens have ultimately determines the input in terms of revenue that we can generate for our city. And so making sure that housing is accessible to our citizens in terms of driving culture, as well as having the right demographic for the present and also driving the right future for San Ramon is key. More specifically, I think we need to be thoughtful about the kind of housing that we offer to make sure that we keep a diverse community. As I am a person of the millennial or Gen Z generation, I'd like to think about housing that's accessible to people in my age range that I can eventually grow into to settle down in San Ramon for the long run. And ultimately, people like myself would be the future contributing citizens of San Ramon. So ensuring that we have housing opportunities that are accessible to different age groups and demographics will be key.
Thank you. And just before I go on to the next question from Council Member Zafar, is your last name pronounced Adusamili?
Yeah, yes.
See, there's nothing to this pronunciation. Zafar, you're up. I just can't get her name. Anyway, go ahead, Sabina.
You got it. You're there. Krupa, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So my question is around COVID-19 and the impact that it has had on our businesses right now. What do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee, what role do you think can the Economic Development Advisory Committee play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
So I think there's two key areas that I've thought a little bit about. One is around attracting new employers and growing existing employers within San Ramon. And I've noticed every day when I read the news that more and more employers are transitioning to a hybrid or work from home policy. And as especially in the demographics or the employers that many of our citizens work for. And One of the big issues that I find myself in is I can't necessarily guarantee that I have high quality internet in all parts of San Ramon. I'm on the Doherty Valley side, and when I call our network providers, they say, oh, sorry, the towers in your city are a little too far from where you are. We can't really do much, even if you have a booster. And I think from a high quality of life perspective for our citizens, as well as proving to employers, future and present, that we're a digital first city who cares about our employers, and creating a business hub for San Ramon, prioritizing making San Ramon a digital first city will be key. And I think EDAC has the power to influence that, as well as work with adjacent advisory committees like the Innovation and Tech Committee. The second thing I wanted to talk about was I feel like there's a divide in San Ramon between old San Ramon and new San Ramon. This is something I would have said even when I was in teen council 7-8 years ago. Actually, man, might be more than that now. And I think the reason I call that out is I think there's a lot of opportunity to develop new San Ramon with retailers that might not be accessible in old San Ramon. For example, if I wanted to shop for clothing, I could go to Dublin, Pleasanton, or Livermore, but not really find options in San Ramon itself. So if we provide retailing options in new San Ramon that complement the existing retail options in old San Ramon, I could see the synergies blending well, and folks in old San Ramon visiting new San Ramon and new San Ramon visiting old San Ramon, which will not only drive economic value, but also foster community. The final and last nuance point here is I actually was looking to figure out what San Ramon's digital marketing strategy was to encourage shopping locally. And the simple search that I did for grocery, for example, last night, I found that the first 3 options that it presented me were Dublin, Pleasanton, and then Dublin again. And the fact that we don't have a strong SEO or SEM, search engine optimization or search engine marketing tactics, is indicative that there's a lot of room for us to grow with very small changes to our marketing plans. So I think those are 3 simple ways that we can drive value through EDAC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Veros, though I think she may have just answered yours.
Hi, Krupa.
Hello.
Advise key development strategy to support and expand existing business and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Yeah, I think I sort of touched on it in the other questions, but to expand a little bit more on the connectivity topic as well, I want to be able to go to the park or sit at Starbucks or sit in city center or anywhere really within San Ramon and be able to work. I think that's a part of having a high quality of life as the world, professional and personal world, start to blend. And if we have connectivity across San Ramon, then I would go to not just Starbucks, but the local mom and pop coffee shop, knowing that I can work out of that shop. And I think creating opportunities for small businesses to also drive more traffic is key for expanding existing employers and also attracting new employers. I also would imagine very large employers would be very attracted to knowing that they have a very strong and capable workforce already in San Ramon, and making sure that they can continue to keep remote work from home policies potentially in San Ramon while being headquartered here and employing our citizens could attract new employers. On marketing strategies specifically, I know we have a lot of budget that goes into marketing via direct mail. I don't know if anyone else can relate to me on this experience, but once COVID-19 started, my family and I didn't touch mail for 2 to 3 weeks once it came, just to avoid the virus because we didn't understand much. In that process, we entirely transitioned our approach to dealing with mail. We went paperless. And so all of our marketing communication now comes through email. So any physical signage or anything that I get via direct mail is rendered not very useful to me. So I think reorienting those dollars to be localized or to be digital will add tremendous value. The final point here, I think, is another opportunity potentially to collaborate with the Innovation and Tech Advisory Committee. There's very interesting technology around having your location turned on your phone and you're looking at your recent search history. So if I look up grocery and I'm driving, we should be able to trigger various offers to our citizens based on grocery stores near where they are in San Ramon. And I think that will continue to drive and expand retail opportunities in San Ramon.
Thank you. Councilmember Armstrong.
Hi, Krupa.
Hello.
If a significant employer, you mentioned significant employer a minute ago, but if one wants to come to San Ramon and say to Bishop Ranch,
Yes.
this is post-pandemic, this could mean more traffic for San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential for increase in traffic?
This sounds pretty reminiscent of the recent Costco debate. And I think the principles around EDAC, from what I gathered from the team's recommendation and the proposal, is we're a pro-growth and pro-business organization or city. And if we find that traffic will ultimately inhibit growth and entry or more people engaging with the adjacent organizations, whether it's businesses or parks, and that also will have a negative financial impact, then I think we need to reconsider. So I think there's a cost benefit analysis of looking at how much value does this new drive to the Bishop Ranch community and San Ramon overall, and how much degradation to economic value will the traffic contribute. If the contribution of the new employer outweighs the degradation of traffic, then I think we proceed with bringing on the new employer and figuring out ways simultaneously to work with the city and planning committee to reorient traffic over time to even reduce the tension that traffic situation may cause.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan? It's online.
Yes.
You have? Good. What would be your priority for the committee this year?
My priority, the two that I felt very, very closely with were related to, I think they were goals A and C, related to maintaining and expanding existing firms and attracting new employers, as well as maintaining and enhancing San Ramon's high quality of life. Those to me are actually very similar. I think if we are able to make San Ramon a bustling business hub, then our citizens will be able to work for the employers that we are bringing into San Ramon. And I think having access to employers that are very close to where you live, and then being able to work remotely as well, will add significant value in both respects. So if I had to prioritize two goals, it would be those two. And then I think the strategies in which we would focus on those two goals are pretty similar to what I mentioned earlier in terms of how we can attract new employers and where there are opportunities for growth as it relates to connectivity and marketing opportunities, and trying to add new retail opportunities on both sides of San Ramon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Group, as you know, or should know, that we have a lot of people we're going to be interviewing tonight. We will let you know tomorrow. Now that our clerk knows that they better send you an email, because you're not going to get a letter. But I just want to thank you for applying tonight. If the first name is Shrisa Krupa?
Shrisa Krupa, yes.
Okay.
I go by Krupa though.
Okay, very good. Well, I should at least give one shot at it. I mean, I can get Sabina.
It was great. It was great. It was perfect.
Anyway, thank you very much for applying, and we're going to move ahead to the next one, and you should be hearing from us tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Joseph Holton.
I'll go ahead and let them in at this moment.
Okay. Okay, Joseph, can you hear me? You got to unmute and, okay, thank you for applying, Joseph. We are each going to ask you one question. Usually takes up to 2 minutes to answer each one. And I will start it off. There's no lead, or what do you call it, opening question and no closing question. It's just, we're going to give you 5. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
Housing is very important to the economic development because people want affordable housing, and also as well as they want to stay in the city, have the schools with a good education, school system. They're looking for school system and the recreations and parks. Those are very important to the common people, the lifestyle and everything. So it is important the city should have some sort of a development plan for the schools and the parks.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Savar.
Hi, Joseph, nice to meet you.
Nice.
So my question is around COVID-19 and how it's impacted businesses in San Ramon. What do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee, what role can they play in helping San Ramon's economy recover post-COVID?
The business is very important for the city. So the COVID has affected a lot of businesses. They cannot open it and function. Hopefully, when we get the vaccinations, we can open the more stores and businesses. That will help the city to to grow, and it is more helpful for the people and the employees and employees.
Thank you. Councilmember Barros.
Hi, Joseph.
Hi.
Advise a key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Important thing is that the city has to provide the access, the licensing and everything more affordable. Means the city can have provided the business opportunities in the city and development of the areas and roads developing to the new developments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Armstrong.
Yeah, hi. Hi. My question is, if a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon, specifically say to Bishop Ranch, this is post-pandemic, this could mean more traffic in San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Now, most of the businesses are doing, the employees have the option to stay from home and work from home. That is very important. So it will affect the traffic. So more people are working from home. That will reduce the traffic and congestions and the roads and the pollution. So it is very important the employer should give the employees the option to work from home and give more incentive to that. The people only need to go to work is only essential people. The people who work for the city, means the roads or construction works. Other people who can't work from home should work from home. That will help. And also the city should give more incentive to the businesses.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan that's online?
Actually, I just looked at, but I didn't look the details in it.
Okay. What would be your priority for the committee this coming year?
The overall development of the city is my priority. I like this. I have been in the city for 35 years. I saw a lot of development happen during the last 35 years in the San Ramon Valley road. It was a very small, means a one-way street, and now it is a big development happening everywhere. That is good for the people and for the city. So the development happening all last 35 years has a very impressive records. It is very important as the city has the ability to give more housing, the new roads and businesses, developments. It will be important. So I think the city is going in the right direction. So it will give more schools, a very good school system. So I think we will need more parks and education. The school kids are educating from home through webinar or website. So the Zoom, so it is very helpful. So I think it is more important that this kids should stay at home or the hybrid system. So it will help the kids to learn at the same time. Once the vaccination is all done, kids can go back to school.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. We are going to interview probably 6 more people tonight. We'll be making our selections somewhere around 7:30, and our city clerk will notify you tomorrow. I just want to thank you so much for applying. It's great to see so many people interested in helping out in the city, and hopefully everything will be well for you, and thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next applicant to keep this ball rolling, and again, good luck on the selection.
Thank you very much.
Our next applicant is Stan Sinitza. Mark, did you have oh, you were waiting. Okay. And Stan isn't in yet, so we've got 3 more before we take a break, and possibly we'll be able to get Steve Breed in. Steve has a case of Megan's disease.
He was able to connect, so he will be back at 6:40.
Okay, good. And no Stan yet?
No.
He might still be in Mexico.
I was mentioning before that my 3rd son, who works at Google, was working on a project called Loon, which was high altitude cellular service. But the corporate has said that there isn't a business model that would support it, that people who could use it can't afford it. This high altitude balloon-based system is great when you have very low density of a population, and they can't afford it.
I thought they were looking in like Africa and some other countries.
South America, Africa.
Yeah.
The outback.
They
of Australia.
showcased it there, I think, as a service project. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I know Tesla is offering something as well. Musk tweeted out something about selling satellite Wi-Fi or something like that.
Of course he did.
Okay. Oh, Stan's in. All right, Stan, if you could unmute. We're going to ask you 1 question each. It'll take about 10 minutes to do this entire interview. And you don't do an opening or a closing statement. So are you with us? Can you hear?
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Hello.
Let me start it. Go ahead. You start to say something, Mike.
Yeah, I'm ready. Ready when you are.
Okay. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
It's really important. It's important if people don't have a place to live, they cannot be in the city. The affordability is one factor, and the population growth is, I think it's inevitable, it's necessary for economic development. And it's a balance between, all the environmental causes and all the other important questions we need to answer, but we have to find balance between nature and people and everything else.
Okay, thank you, Stan. And before I go to the next question, I didn't look here. Are you a business owner in town, or you're just applying for the regular position?
I'm applying for a regular position. I'm currently full-time employed with a big company, but I'm actually transitioning to become, I'm looking for what I'm gonna do next when I retire.
Okay, our next question will come from Council Member Zafar.
Hi, Stan. Nice to see you.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is that with the impact of COVID-19 on businesses, what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Great question. The biggest impact and the biggest thing that the city should try to do is to help small businesses recover from this. and not just restaurants. Everybody, for some reason, talks about restaurants, but it's also barber shops, auto repair places, because we drive a lot less. So the impact is huge, and I don't think we see all of it yet. But the more city can do to even the field between the small businesses and larger businesses, or very large businesses like Costco and Amazon and Target, the better community is going to be in the future. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Stan. Councilmember Veros.
Hi, Stan.
Hello.
Stan, advise key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
I think the biggest thing for businesses is cost of doing business, right? So it's not only the cost of rent or lease or the cost of acquiring a property in a city, but it's also taxes. So if we can create favorable conditions for certain types of businesses we're trying to attract through lower taxation, either for a period of time or giving them some kind of a tax break, or helping some nonprofits to get lower lease prices in town, that will help to attract more businesses to our city.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Armstrong.
Evening, Stan. If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon, say to Bishop Ranch, and this is post-pandemic, this could mean more traffic for San Ramon. So how do we balance the economic development with the potential increase in traffic?
Well, Bishop Ranch, I work in Bishop Ranch since '91 myself. And as more buildings were added, I can see traffic increasing. And it's like a coin, it has two sides. One thing we can do is, again, talk about another entrance exit on Norris Canyon Road from 680, or other creative things that we can do to offload the traffic. But with employment comes traffic. So we need to make either roads wider or encourage people to commute. And there is a lot of initiatives over the years that Bishop Ranch and the Contra Costa County Transportation Committee took to encourage people to carpool or take public transportation. All these things have to balance. But as far as I know, Bishop Ranch is not planning to build a lot more office space. There's not much room in the city left. So maybe that's the good news. Once we fill all the space that we have, maybe we can find the balance between, bringing employees in with city center now operational. So people may stay after work and spend money in the restaurants or bars here. And, that may also help with offloading traffic during the peak times.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins.
Stan, have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan that is online, the city's Economic Development Strategic Plan?
I looked at it, and it's from what I remember, it's a 20-year plan where it's a very good strategy on where we want to be in the future. And it's a good plan, but one thing we all need to understand, I think, is the plan needs to be adjusted as we go, because no one could have predicted COVID or power outages or some natural disasters that are happening. So we need to, it's good to have a plan, but it's good to be flexible and understanding and adjust as we go.
The second part of that question is, what would be your priority for the committee this coming year?
My priority would be, number one is what do we do after COVID? How do we attract more businesses how do we help existing businesses that are still in business to recover? And I'm talking small to medium-sized businesses. And also, how do we bring more businesses in town And what does this town need? Do we need more shops? Do we need more restaurants? Do we need more office like employers and stuff and things of that nature?
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan, and thank you for applying. We will be voting on this tonight. I believe 6 more people to interview, and you will be notified tomorrow by our city clerk. So once again, thank you for applying, and we're going to just keep moving on so we can get that answer for you tonight.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Natalie Alvinez. And Natalie comes in. Let's get her front and center, then Peter Pay, and then we're going to Steve Breed.
So fortunately, my son didn't lose his job. He transferred to Google Cloud, and Google Cloud is
That's the right business.
Their corporate goals, he said. That's, he wouldn't tell me
Yeah,
what the
they're
goals were, but he says they're
beefing up on that.
Yeah.
They're hiring everything.
We are now with the partners with the Google Cloud, and we're deploying huge on the cloud, Google Cloud. So he went into right direction, I mean, right department or right organization.
Fortunately, he moved about 2 months before they closed the door on Loon. So he was already in position before they closed the doors on Loon.
Nice.
What is he doing with Google Cloud?
He codes. They're trying to, one of the goals he's working on is, regardless of the platform the customer is on, you want them to have the same experience and the same access to their products. And so it
Kubernetes?
Challenging to make it look the same to the customer, even though the input is very different.
Yeah. That's a problem if we can solve. But I don't think they want to solve that problem. See, they want stickiness on their cloud. So between AWS and Google and Azure, they all talk about portability, but then, hey, if it's portable, then it can go on somebody else's cloud. So unless they're able to monetize that, which Google could with Kubernetes. So Google certainly could.
Portable on their own cloud.
Yeah.
So you can move from one to another within their cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie. No Natalie yet.
Yeah, one of the big markets these clouds are now trying to capture is industry, of course, because industry is very resilient to being in the public cloud or even in a managed cloud, or what AWS at least has, like a gov cloud or something. Like utilities, they want to still build their own data centers, and security, it's national security we're talking about here, right? So the adoption is in industry, it's a tough one.
He's also working on a master's through Georgia Tech, which will take him a while to finish, but I give him a lot of credit for working on
That's awesome.
masters and working full time.
Jojo? He's going to Jojo Tech?
Yeah, Georgia Tech. Yeah, rambling wreck from Georgia Tech.
So eventually, pretty much everyone is going to be on cloud. That's where it is good.
Yeah.
Because I manage cloud operations, so
it hardly pays to have your own servers, particularly when demand fluctuates so greatly from one time to the next. It's hard to buy the right amount of server, and so having somebody else manage that for you can be a big plus.
Yeah.
Next time you should check with MCE and see if they plan to be on the cloud or they're still on-prem.
Yeah.
They need too much power. MCE can't handle it.
No, the problems in Texas with their whole power structure going down because the power system can't handle the cold. nuclear power plants were taken offline because they don't have access to water, flowing water. It's freezing. Same thing with some of the gas-fired plants. And the 23% of their electricity comes from wind, and they were not winterized. They didn't winterize those, so the hydraulic fluids in them can't manage it, so they shut them down. And that's the huge problem. And Texas has isolated their grid. When they're pumping a lot of electrons onto the grid, they can't sell it to other adjacent states. And when they have problems, they can't buy from adjacent states. I find that fascinating. And it's hopefully California, their grid is connected from Washington, Oregon, and Arizona largely. And I think we also get some from Nevada and Utah. So our grid, the whole Western Power Administration and all that, we aren't going to suffer that kind of problem typically. We have other problems, but
After that,
I mean, the whole microgrid, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we have in our Rotary Club, Sridhar and Sabina, we have a PG&E staff person who says, their goal in their transmission is to shrink each little, you're talking about microgrids, so that it's
Right.
fewer and fewer businesses and fewer houses are on any one circuit, so that when they have to do a power safety shutoff, it affects fewer and fewer people. Now they're also working the vegetation side, but it's a combination of making for smaller and smaller, so adding switches. At the same time, you work on the vegetation side of it.
Yeah. And that's, I think, something I talked to Joe about as well. I think he was just exploring that when COVID happened, and, we kind of focused on other things, on some of, the city where our core downtown can be, rely on a microgrid, so that if things shut off, we can just cut off from the main grid and just rely on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fortunately, our City Hall and 2401 and the one out on Crow Canyon all have backup generators, so our city systems can go on. And then we also have contracts for delivering fuel. We've never been down long enough to have to really force the issue on the fuel. I'm just always wonder if we are high enough priority on the fuel side. Mark, you may have dealt with some of that.
No, not directly, no.
on the fuel side,
Well, you got to refuel these generators after they run for a day or two. You got to refuel them, and if they run out of diesel, then you're dead like everybody else. I mean, you're blacked out like everybody else. So
maybe time for power wall.
It all comes down to priorities.
yeah,
Block 50. No, we went through it in 2000, 2001.
Tesla power wall. That's the way now.
I was thinking about that, but a power wall, you get a 5 kilowatt power wall, and it can only deliver the 5 kilowatts for what, 4 or 5 hours? I don't know what they have a limit. And the sad thing is, and Dave will go crazy with this, is you buy your own little generator. You get a Jenner pack sitting beside your house, and it's tapped into the natural gas line, and you can be off the grid, or the power grid, with your own little generator there and go for days. Whereas if all you're relying on is a power wall, you're only looking at hours.
I know Chevron had trucks going in and everything during Y2K. They were really set up for that. Then they tried to put that other thing in. It got shut down.
Bloom Energy is the one, right? That they are providing something like that, where you have your own portable server with the natural gas, and like nowadays Safeway and a lot of these grocery stores and other retail stores, they are switching to Bloom Energy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're about ready to move on to Peter Pay if she doesn't make it here.
I was not able to get Natalie through the phone, and I also sent her an email as well.
Okay, well, if Peter Pay comes in the next 3 or 4 minutes, we'll jump ahead to him, and that might be about the time she checks in.
Let me go ahead and see if I can give Peter a call.
Okay. Then after Peter, we'll do Steve and then take a break.
Scott, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah. Hey, do we want to push back Dinesh, Bevan, and Bankham 5 or 10 minutes so we can take a break and eat?
Oh, we're going to. No, we're going to. I mean, if they make it in, we'll see. That's why I'm trying to get Peter Pay in definitely on time. I don't know if you're going to grab a bite to eat while we're asking the questions, but they'll.
Dinner.
I was hoping. I was hoping.
What's for dinner, Scott?
I think it's grilled cheese sandwich.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Sabrina knows where my Girl Scout cookies are now. I could be in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Peter will be logging in shortly.
Okay.
Just gonna DoorDash Joe and the juice.
Yeah, but you can't open a door.
I think my wife dropped a big order on Girl Scout cookies today. You have to see what the damage is.
I can tell you.
I think this year we're just going to write the check and not take the cookies.
No, take the cookies. I'll hide them for you.
I used to have a coworker who bought, so my daughter was a Girl Scout, and he would buy 2 cases of Thin Mints and freeze them for the year.
Yeah.
And he's like, I go through, and we were just one of his, sales point. He had multiple places.
Thin Mints.
Oh my God, those are lethal. They are so good frozen.
They're pretty darn good unfrozen too, at least the ones I went through. The box I went through while we were doing this.
Our best customers used to be my son's wrestling team, because at the end of the season, the wrestlers were really good. And then at the end of the season, in January, they're like, yeah, we're eating all the Girl Scout cookies we can. So that was where we got all our orders from.
Hey, Peter's here. Okay, Peter, if you unmute, we'll get going. Start you off almost a minute early. Can he? Can you hear me? It's getting closer.
Let me unmute and share the video, and then it should work.
Okay, Peter, what we're going to do is ask you one question from each of us. Usually takes about 2 minutes to answer them. You don't have to do an opening statement or a closing statement. We're trying to get through a large number of applicants. And I will start it off if it's okay. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
It's critical, absolutely. I mean, we clearly are going to live in an environment where people are coming in and going out of the city. But to the best of our ability, we should be able to offer affordable housing and a broad range of housing to try and keep our residents as much as possible within the community when it comes to their working experience.
Good, thank you. Council Member Zafar.
Hi, Peter. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Let me apologize now for the dog, because I can sense he's about to woof.
No worries. So my question is around the impact of COVID-19 on businesses, and what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Very good point. To my surprise, in my personal experience, I have found that remote working is actually better than I was expecting, but it is not as good as face-to-face interactions. And I think an important part of the advisory committee would be to help the council basically develop ideas, and particularly marketing ideas, of the importance of still face-to-face real life business locations to develop a business and with San Ramon being an ideal location to have that location where the employees can come together and be more collaborative and innovative.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Burrows.
Hi, Peter.
Hello.
Advise a key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
I think basically to encourage or maintain the businesses that we have is basically pretty much do as we have done. Clearly, they were attracted to us and what the city offers. In terms of encouraging new businesses, I think we should do everything we can to encourage the incubator and the accelerator that we already have. I apologize, in the city, and basically really focus on encouraging small, new and brand new created businesses by offering a friendly environment. And I think working together with the accelerator and the incubator would be the way to do that for new businesses.
Thank you.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Hi, Peter.
Good evening.
Good evening. If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and specifically to Bishop Ranch, this is post-pandemic,
right,
this could mean more traffic to San Ramon. How do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Yeah, it is a trade-off without doubt, and one would have to weigh the costs and benefits. But coming back to the very first question about housing, I think the way we can try and balance that is to offer a broad range of housing options so that we can minimize as much as possible the traffic coming and going on and off the 680. If it's on street, off highway traffic, I think from local residents, I think as much as possible that is what we should develop. But it's not going to be 100% solution. There are always going to be people coming and going.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
I see from your resume, you were a member of the EDAC in 2019. How many years were you on EDAC?
I apologize on.
Am I looking at the wrong? I'm looking at the wrong resume. I'm sorry. Have you read the Economic Development Strategic Plan?
I have not.
Okay. What would be your highest priority for the committee this coming year?
Basically post-COVID to encourage new businesses to come in. And that's why, and particularly small, growing, innovative businesses, which is where I really see the future opportunities being maximized, which is why I am so interested in the accelerator and the incubator, and the city supporting them and their activities as much as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for applying. And we are going to take one more person before break, so you can imagine how quick I'm going to be talking right now. But we will take a vote tonight on 5 regulars, 1 alternate, and 1 business person. Do you own a business in town? Let me ask that question first.
I do not.
Okay, then you're going for the regular seat or the alternate. Again, thank you for applying, and we're going to move right into our next candidate, and we will let you know tomorrow what the in count is for the vote.
Well, thank you very much indeed for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Take
Our
care.
next candidate would be Steve Breed. And if you want to start eating now, Scott.
He'll be logging in at 6:40.
Okay.
Oh, break time. Okay, break time.
I'm getting addicted to wheat thins.
I'm working on my COVID-20, so trying to do it.
Tell you what, if they don't get this thing open this year, you're not going to need any economic development. There isn't going to be any.
We're talking COVID 2021.
I think we're doing pretty good. I've been looking at the vaccine numbers. Contra Costa has been doing pretty good. We're over 200,000. So
Well, they can get
that's
to me anytime now.
1/5 the population. Did you get one?
No, I put in for it. I probably.
My daughter got her shot in New York today because she works at Whole Foods. So she's an essential worker, and she was able to get her first shot.
Candace saw it, said, give it to him last.
Well, first they have to cover the over 75. So you're still young.
I'll tell you what, yeah, I got somebody who's getting his second one Thursday, or his wife, and he has to take her because she doesn't drive.
You know,
I had a frost delay today when I golfed. And you're not going to be golfing in Texas, I can tell you that.
it's no golf.
It's
My
like
father-
hitting a rock.
My father-in-law's in Austin. He said yesterday morning it was 7 degrees and he had no power in the house.
See, that's
Oh
ridiculous.
my God.
Yeah.
I remember it got down to 19 here at Christmas. And it had to be like 1980 or 81. And holy cow, everybody found out real quick that they didn't bury their irrigation lines far enough. And you'd go to turn on the showers in the morning and they were frozen. I mean, it was, people don't realize when this stuff hits like this, it becomes dangerous because your water is shut off if it freezes and then unfreezes. And, you know, when the line's broke and it turns into water again.
That's bad news.
Yep.
About 15, 20 years ago, there was a really, really, really hard freeze in this area. And I don't remember, is that what you were just talking about?
Yeah. Actually, there was 140 that was even worse.
At Lawrence Livermore Lab, we had the employees were sent home for about 10 days because we could not support on-site employees. And since that time, we have weatherized all the critical systems.
Okay, let's get Steve in here and then we can do a real break. Okay, Steve, are you unmuted? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mayor Hudson.
Okay, Steve, we're going to ask you one question each.
Okay.
And I'll warn you ahead of time, you don't have to do an opening, you don't have to do a closing, but you are between us and a break. And these guys are hungry, so make them short.
I got it clear and concise, Mayor.
You gotta be aware that, you know, we can't teach these people this stuff at the mayor's conference. I think what they have to say is more important. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
I think housing's important to economic development because the housing brings the residents into the community that will help drive retail sales for retail, and also well, basically about consumers who will go shop in stores and help drive retail sales. So the right housing that's planned in the right way, that, you know, preserves the mountains and stuff is important, but as long as it's planned well, but you need consumers to drive retail sales, right?
Yes, thank you. Council Member Zafar.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you.
Hi, Councilmember Zafar. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So my question is, with the impact of COVID-19 on our businesses, what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Can I repeat back to make sure I got it? What role does the EDC play to help with economic development? Thank you.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things. One, I think they own idea generation, right? So how does the EDC come up with, how do we drive more retail sales into our economic development, or how do we help with getting more businesses into this community, whether it's commercial, right? Because we have a lot of commercial space that's open, along with retail. How do we drive more people into our retail shopping centers, which will help And those ideas would be things like, how do we have like partner with, like when I was in soccer, we would partner with a soccer community. Maybe they bring tournaments. When we had a tournament in soccer, we'd bring up to 4,000 to 5,000 people into the city that would drive consumers or into the city that would help with obviously go to our stores and stuff. So we'd create events, maybe would be an idea. Other ideas, how do we partner and leverage some of the city assets to get more of our citizens to shop once we can go shop within the appropriate COVID restrictions. So we would ideate, bring a list of ideas, share it with the committee, and then bring it to council for support.
Thank you. You're on mute, Mayor.
Keep me there. Councilmember Burrows.
Hi, Steve.
How you doing, Councilmember Rose?
Very good. Steve, advise key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
So what are the strategies to support and bring new businesses in? Is that question? Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, support existing, like, or expanding existing and bringing new.
Yeah, it's two things, right? This one, I think you need to shore up our existing businesses, and the strategy would be how do we help them get where they need help? How do we help them start driving businesses? So either you start with the Chamber of Commerce and make sure that we're not overlapping strategies, but we put a strategy in place, help them. So that could be how do we support your businesses in the city of San Ramon, drive, maybe work with several businesses in the city center to create events within the city center, or maybe during take a couple of days and it's 10% of all business, but we create events to try and help our local businesses to bring new businesses in. I think there's a lot to go sell new businesses. So one, you need to identify what type of businesses you want, right? Do you need to go start work with another Walmart, which I'm sure is not aligned to what we need to do, or do we need a different type of retail businesses, whether it's a Michael's or something like that we could support that would drive revenue that probably wouldn't really have the effect ecologically within our community from open spaces up, but we could drive tax revenue in the city. So we prepare presentations, we sell that to key decision makers on San Ramon, because San Ramon as a community, it's a lot to bring, whether it's housing, it's safe. We're one of the safest communities in the nation from a standpoint of getting our employees here. And then also you talk to these key stakeholders and talk to them about, I don't know what we would do from a standpoint of tax benefits, but how do we bring their businesses in here and show them how we can not only provide a safe community that is an upper income community, but also a community that will purchase in their stores. So you'd have to go to the Michaels and all that stuff. But the key is you got to identify what businesses you really want, right? So, and we would have to strategically go do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Mark. I'm
Hi.
sorry. Hi, Councilmember Armstrong. Sorry about that.
All good. Hey, Steve, if a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and specifically to Bishop Ranch, and this is post-pandemic, could mean more traffic for San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and a potential increase in traffic?
Potential increase in traffic? Well, there's a couple things. One, I don't think the EDC is a centerpiece on as we look at traffic. So the key is if you had a major employer, let's just say it's Mark Armstrong's bringing a massive company in, we would have to work with the traffic advisory committee. So you get your experts, key experts in there, say, hey, here's a business we're in, here's how much traffic is, and really do a study on what the effect is, right? And if it was a massive effect, but the tax revenue was significant, that's where you got to get different stakeholders in to make sure that we're making the right decision, right? So that's frankly, I think there would be a city council representative. So we would have to talk that through and say, what is the risk? What's the risk? What feedback will we get from our citizens? And then also, how do we manage the traffic part of it? Also, we would have to look, they're doing a nice job, like the city of, in Bishop Ranch, we have a lot of buses because I was working in one of the complex, Bishop Ranch 6. How do we leverage alternative different transportations? Because there's a ton of them out there. And so we would have to work with that business and say, hey, here's some different transportation methods to come in. So I'm a big believer, you start with yes and work to no. So we'd have to work if it was significant enough. And that's where we need counsel and other resource and feedback to see, is this something we want to go chase? So, but those are some, I know, Mark, there's a lot there to unpack, but those are some strategies how I go do it. But the key is there's always a third way to try and solve the transportation issue. And I know Mayor Hudson is probably the expert here, but he would, we'd probably tap into him and say, what some other options we could get to help the community. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perkins.
There we go. What troop were you active with?
888.
Thank you.
And then also,
Thank you for replying tonight. And we would, no, go ahead, Scott.
and I did yeah, so anyway, sorry about that.
I tell the guy that be careful, you're between us and a break and you start chatting.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of work,
Up,
so thanks for asking.
You're holding me up.
Okay.
What would be your priority for the committee this coming year?
Scott, it's a really good question. I mean, if I took, and I've gone through to try to look at some of the agendas, and there was a ton from last year. I think one thing is the committee needs to establish itself, right? Again, and who they are from an identity. The first and the second thing is the health of our San Ramon businesses. So how do we help the businesses that, and when I say help, what are some activities or what are some resources that we can help drive some of the businesses, drive business into our current businesses we have. So I've seen a lot of you actually during the campaign trail that have to answer a lot of those questions, right? And then the other thing is, which I think is a difficult one. So we need to help deliver on some of those promises that we heard to drive people into our current businesses. And then when we have new businesses started, how do we, like there's an Ace hardware store going over in the Osh location over there. How do we help those businesses get started and to get successful? So we have a success model for new businesses come in so we can use that to go, I think it was Sadir's message question is, we have a success model we can take to other businesses that we can court to come do business in San Ramon. Hey, here's what we will do to support you. So we support all new businesses that are already starting up, like the Ace over at Osh. So those are some things I would do, but the key is, just reiterate, how do we create some type of activity to support our current businesses, create a plan to help new businesses are starting up, and the third one is create a success model so we can sure to get new businesses in, right? And one thing I would say, and I think that needs to be addressed, is really the online business and how do we tackle that? Because I need to be more educated, but a lot of my business, because I'm in the consumer products business, goes through Amazon, Walmart.com. Is there a way that we can attract we look at the online business, because I know we're talking a lot about brick and mortar here, but that's a massive business that, maybe we take a look at fulfillment or look at some type of property and go court those type of businesses that do massive turns that could help generate more tax revenue for the city. Because I just think that's a untapped resource that we could go after as a city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Perkins.
Thank you, Steve. And we will be making a vote or selection this evening, hopefully within about 40 minutes. And we will let you know tomorrow what the results are. Thank you for applying, and break time. No.
All right, hey, thanks for your time tonight. Hey, you guys have a great night, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, have an amazing night. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, guys, you got about 10 minutes to eat, drink, whatever you need to do, and we'll be back here at 6:50. Does that make sense? Whoops.
What about the gals?
Your next candidate is is here. So are we pushing back all of the interviews by 10 minutes?
What's it sound like? What's the pleasure?
You have 3
How
left.
many do we have?
Okay, we got 3 left, but Scott's gone. Take 10. Ask him to push it back.
Oh, Scott is back.
Now, Scotty, you want to push through the 3? Or are you good?
Can we get 5 minutes?
Yes, 5 minutes is good. That's what you call real negotiating there.
5 minutes.
We will be soon. Oh, I lost my phone like 2 or 3 times in 1 year, so Spadowski nailed my whatever you put around your phone to a brick. And Joe was in on it. Just remember, there will be payback. Okay, everybody happy. I can't eat any more wheat thins.
I'm very jealous of your grilled cheese right now. Vice Mayor Perkins.
I did a rough count of how many Costco emails.
Yeah.
And I got about 544 and less than 30 against.
They must have not been sending them to you because I had 544 in 72 hours.
Yeah, you might have gotten more than we did, but
oh, it was ridiculous, Scott. I used to get a lot of these things going back to well, not so much, we didn't have this much email then, but when the helicopter was going into the Central Park, and yeah, it goes back a ways. But this.
Are you saying we didn't get that helicopter?
No, we did.
Pat?
It had to go to an election. Went to a vote of the people, and we can still put there was a heliport here originally. And when it was unused, he wanted to bring it back. I forget which building he was building, and the people said no. So if you go up on the parking structure, were you here when we were doing fireworks and he used to do a get together up on BR3 on the southernmost point? There's a spot for a heliport. And we have if you look, not now maybe, but there's a helicopter going down 680 all the time at about 2,000 feet. But you really want to see the activity. Look at, go over to Livermore, and there's a plane taking off every 2 minutes.
Corporate jets, $2 and $3 and $4 million corporate jets.
Oh, they got them little pipers too. That are just trying to bug the golfers. I swear that's the only.
Your next candidate is in waiting.
Well, bring him in.
He is in. He's just waiting.
Okay, Dinesh, unmute.
Okay.
Okay, Dinesh.
Sorry.
We're gonna all ask you one question, take about up to 2 minutes to answer it. There's no opening, no closing. We're gonna get through this thing tonight. You are about the 50th person we've interviewed, or is it 15th? I can't remember. Anyway, I will start it off. In your view, how important is housing to economic development?
I'm sorry, your question was how important is housing to economic development?
Yeah, in your view.
In my view, okay. Well, first I just want to start off, thank you for having me, inviting me to this. Actually, went out, got a haircut for all you guys before this this meeting here. So, but no, that's a great question, Dave. I mean, I feel housing is very important in economic development. I think, other areas too that are important are public safety, quality of life, transportation, and sustainability. But I feel housing is really integral. I mean, why it's so integral is that housing needs to be affordable and accessible to our residents so we can attract, hopefully, a strong workforce here, which will help support our economic development.
Okay, Council Member Zafar.
Hi, Dinesh, good to see you. So my question is around the impact of COVID-19 on our businesses, and what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. That's probably a question I would ask. That's a great. Thank you for asking that. And I think as someone like myself with a business and medical background, I'd have the right expertise to help support the post-pandemic effort. And I think EDAC would have a great opportunity to explore ways to make sure, we can open businesses safely. And, I'd like to look at how we can encourage ways to get our folks, vaccinate as much as possible, and also continue to practice, proper and safe COVID-19 protocols. But there's also, I've been kind of hearing about some various certifications a business can get, such as like the Well Health certification. And, I'd like for our committee to, if I was on the EDAC committee or if I wasn't, either way, I'd like our committee to explore this for our local businesses so we can instill confidence in our residents so they feel comfortable when they go to these local businesses and are there. And so, but I also think it's important for us to work closely with city officials, the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses. I think it's paramount to our success in recovery. And we have to remember our businesses are our backbone to our local economy, and we need to do whatever we can do to help them. And local businesses have for many years supported our community, and it's time that we try to return the favor. But we need to start planning this now so we're able to handle these post-pandemic types of issues.
Okay. Councilmember Burrows.
Hi, Dinesh.
Hey, Sridhar.
Dinesh, advise key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Okay, so you're looking at how to attract new businesses. Is that your question?
Yeah, and expand our existing business.
Expand our existing. Okay. Well, as you know, I mean, when I was running for mayor, I called San Ramon my home for the last 42 years, and this is really an awesome city to live in, and I'd like to be a part of the planning, and process to look at and see how we can improve our San Ramon economy and how we can entice growth of our businesses, whether small or large, to stay or come to our city. And I think I mentioned that, last year too. And I'd like to look at ways and explore ways how we can look at out of the box type of solutions to help our existing businesses. Look at ways on how we can encourage small minority or women-owned businesses into our area, and look at how we can also encourage larger businesses set up satellite offices in our area as well, especially when COVID-19 is over. We're going to start commuting again, and it may not be the same, but we want to make sure that our residents can live, work, and play here. And so if we can try to entice these satellite offices to come to our area, like larger businesses but their satellite offices, I think that would benefit our community. But I feel there should be a team of the right business leaders and city officials to help facilitate this process. I mean, we have so many top-notch folks who work in various industries who can help foster this growth and business development. I'd like to, tap into that resource and, and try to help facilitate that type of relationship. And I think by doing that, I think we can, really grow our existing business here and also bring in other businesses, from the outside as well into our area.
Thank you. Councilmember Armstrong.
Hi, Dinesh.
Hey, Mark.
Hi. You touched on my question a little bit. I'll ask it anyway here. If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and specifically Bishop Ranch, post-pandemic, of course, this could mean more traffic for San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but some things I would probably add is, I think you need to weigh the benefits and the costs to our city. Anytime this type of issue is presented to our, to us, we need to look at that overall picture. We kind of have to look at it from a holistic perspective. And I think, we're going to be fortunate that from a perspective of after COVID, I think, companies have now, what they've done is they've kind of looked at other ways to be able to operate their business. And so when you look at post-COVID, I've heard like many employers are not going to probably have their full workforce come back into work. Or if they do, they're going to have some type of rotational system and all that. So I think if businesses come in, I think there's going to be ways there to curtail sort of that increase in, traffic, because there may be some opportunities for that rotational type of work or, working from home and all that. But it's probably not going to be the same as pre-pandemic where the traffic and all that, but so I think that'll give us some room for us to grow businesses here in Bishop Ranch. But I think looking at, like, let's say if it does become an issue and everyone does come back to work, and maybe it's not what we think, where it's that rotational type of system, then I think we need to look at what the traffic patterns are and see when the traffic's highest, seeing if maybe we can work with companies to see if there is a, an opportunity to do that type of rotational workforce, and see if if that's available. But I'd also like to look and see how we can increase public transportation and encourage that to be more accessible for our workers as well, because I think that will also help curtail the traffic. And I know we're using, smart signal technology, but I'd like to try to make sure that's used, more often and in various areas, in key areas, and getting that overpass built. I know that Dave's been talking about for a while, and so help. And I think that'll also help with traffic. But I think there are a myriad of ways how we can, really tackle this issue.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Thank you for applying, Dinesh. What is
Scott?
your highest priority for the committee this year?
Hey, Scott, I'm sorry, you cut off. Can you repeat your question again?
Sure. What is your highest priority for the Economic Development Advisory Committee this year?
Okay, well, I mean, I think there's some key goals and priorities that are there. I mean, I'd like to go back and review some of the documents that are out there. Look at the minutes from the EDAC meetings, but I can go back and look at those, but also look at the EDSP document as well. But I think the key things are really kind of what we touched upon earlier is, retaining our existing business. I think that's really important. And then also trying to help expand and encourage new businesses into our area. I think that's also key too in some of my priorities. But also as part of the EDAC too, I think another priority I would feel would be to kind of focus on various development projects that are here that we're going to be looking into in San Ramon as well. And I would think we would be an integral part of giving input to the council.
Okay, you have a second part, Scott? Is that good? Okay, thank you, Dinesh, for applying. We will be making a decision probably within about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And we will notify everyone tomorrow of what that decision is.
Great.
Thank you for applying. We're going to keep moving.
Right.
We're falling about 5 or 10 minutes behind, and we're going to stick to that 7:30. So thank you once again. And let's bring in Bevan Hong.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. When Bevan gets back.
Bevan is not logged in yet.
Yeah, he was though. He must have seen that we were a little bit behind.
Went out quickly.
Yeah, it was that was odd. He was here briefly. Also, if you want to put it down on the list, as you were told earlier, but it seemed like yesterday, there were a couple people that did not or withdrew their application, but there is one that did not want to interview. There are actually two now. One is Natalie Alvinez and the other one is Patrick Finier, but they are still eligible. And we got two more. Okay. Unless Heidi wants to apply. You don't have to apply, Heidi. You want to interview? And practice? You didn't see that hand go up. Well, let's just jump ahead then and take Bankham. If we can do that.
We'll go if Bevan logs back in, we can take him after Bankham.
Okay, sounds good. So let's get Bankham Meta in. and Bankum. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay, if you can hear me, Bankum, unmute.
Yes, sorry, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we're going to jump you ahead of the other person, get you right here on time. We're going to ask you 5 questions, 1 each. There's no introductory speech or closing statement. I have the first question, and it is, in your view, how important is housing to economic development?
Very.
Good. That's a start. And the next question will be from Council Member Zafar.
Hi, Bankim. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So my question is that with the impact of COVID-19 on businesses, what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover post-COVID?
Well, I think that all businesses are impacted significantly with this problem. And the local government like San Ramon could be more proactive, and especially in information communication to the community in terms of guidance for business conduct, guidance for vaccination, when it's available, who's going to get when people are going to get vaccinated, and then guidance around opening businesses safely and timing on that. I'm sure the businesses are wondering, when they're supposed to be able to open up, to what extent they can open. It's 20%, 40%, 80%. So anything that the local city government can do to communicate better with the local businesses as well as community to give them some ways to deal with this pandemic, whether it's in terms of vaccinating themselves or masking, other precautions that people can take in order to resume business. I believe that would be helpful.
Thank you. Councilmember Burrows.
Hi, Banking.
Hello, Shudhar.
Advise a key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Yeah, I think attracting new businesses would sort of relate to the first question of housing. I think businesses want to hire people, retain people, attract talented people, skilled people. I've been a business owner myself. And if you can't find the talent, and if the people that you find are commuting long distances, that may not be sustainable. So having a good housing policy, having availability of housing, affordable housing, is an important factor for having a business that can survive and strive in this community. So I believe housing is key. Housing is key, and then other policies, and which I'm not that familiar with in terms of what the local government controls versus the county versus the city versus the state and all that. So whatever is under the purview of the local government in terms of cleanliness of the environment or taxes or other costs associated with opening up a business, if those are under the control of, or if we have an impact on, then I would like that to be more business friendly, so that businesses can be attracted here and then they stay here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Armstrong.
Hi, Bankum.
Hello, Mark.
Hi. If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon and specifically to Bishop Ranch, this is post-pandemic, could mean more traffic for San Ramon. How do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Well, I think it's a matter of the priority of the city, whether it wants to expand its footprint in the business world, or it wants to remain a smaller, more, for lack of a better word, quainter community. So if the people in the city and in this town that live here, if they want San Ramon to be, like a Walnut Creek or a San Jose or a bigger, more impactful place like that, then to have a big name company come and headquarter in San Ramon would be very attractive. It would attract other businesses. It would attract talented people to be here. That would improve the city. So to balance it out in terms of traffic, of course, adequate planning has to be part of that equation. So when you're attracting a new company, and if it's going to have 5,000, 10,000 new employees, then adequate parking, adequate roads and other facilities have to be there as part of that plan rather than thinking of it after the fact.
Okay. And
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Thank you for applying.
Thank you.
What is your highest priority for the Economic Development Advisory Committee for this coming year?
Well, I think as Sabina asked earlier, I think COVID has become the highest priority for everybody, whether it's an employee, whether it's a business owner or the government. So dealing with this pandemic adequately, appropriately, and its economic impact that it has had on the community, and how do we help the businesses as well as the people living in the city here deal with that, I believe would have to be the biggest priority this year.
Okay, thank you.
We are going to be making a decision probably in the next 20 or 30 minutes, Bankham. And then our city clerk will notify you. I need to ask you one question though, before you go. Besides, you didn't commute to Australia, did you, when you moved your company there? And I'm trying to get a sense of, do you have a company or a business in San Ramon?
Well, I am working on my third company. So the company that I had, which moved to Australia, I commute. Well, you can say I commuted there. I went there 6 times in a given year. Yeah, so that was fun, but quite challenging too. I have I'm working on a new company right now that I'm just working from my house, and hopefully at some point very soon, it will move to Bishop Ranch.
Okay, I was asking because there is a position for business only, and you would have been the second applicant, but I think you're kind of, because you don't have the business in Bishop Ranch right now or somewhere else, we would have to say no to that check mark. Anyway, thank you very much. We have one more person to interview, and like I said, we will notify you tomorrow. The vote will be taken tonight. Thank you. Let's try, I saw him in for a minute. He was here just a second. Bevan Hong. No Bevan yet. As soon as he comes in, put him in. I was looking at this guy that pulled his name, and I saw Vincent DiMaggio from Martinez. And I wonder, Joe, he was from Martinez.
Yes.
Are you saying the Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah.
Was from Martinez?
Yeah. I actually, my dad took me into his place one time for dinner down on, what is it, Pier 31 or wherever that was. And he was there.
Huh.
Nobody to approach him. All right, Bevan, come on. I'd say we knocked this out pretty good. 23 more emails. How much you want to bet at least half of them are Costco?
Evan will be logging in shortly.
Cool.
Christine, we have to thank you for forwarding all those emails about Marketplace. And Costco.
Marketplace and Muds combined aren't even in the same ballpark as Costco.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Mhm.
I'm
What
not
I want to do
exaggerating.
is, and it might
Inaccess-
give you, oh, there's Bevan, so. we can
Okay,
talk
I'm sorry,
later.
Sabina, what'd you say?
No, Bevan's here, so we can talk
Okay.
later.
Bevan, we are going to ask you, you don't have to do an opening statement or a closing statement. You are our last interview of the evening. We're each going to ask you one question, and hopefully you'll have up to about 2 minutes to answer. The first question is, in your view, how important is housing to economic development?
Housing depends on what type of housing we're talking about. You know, is it the one that's mandated by the state, or is it affordable housing, or is it Section 8, or is it, you know, it's important. Let's just say it's important,
yeah,
right? Because we got a big city, we need the taxes, so housing is important. It has to be strategic though, and the city's done a great job of already doing that. You know, I like the parks. I like, you know.
Oh, they've got a good mayor. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they got a great mayor. Great
Council
mayor.
member Zafar.
Hi, Bevan, nice to see you.
Hi.
So my question is that with the impact of COVID-19 on our businesses, what role do you think the Economic Development Advisory Committee can play in helping San Ramon economy recover from, from COVID, post-COVID?
Post-COVID.
Post-COVID, what role can the EDAC play?
I thought it was
in
really
helping
tough
the economy recover
during COVID. So post-COVID basically is this talk about our different programs. You know, what we want to do is stimulate business activity. I took the San Ramon class of San Ramon 101, I call it, and in regards to how the city makes money. And it was very educational because we don't have the tax base like Pleasanton or Dublin, you know, things like that. We don't have the commercial businesses like they do. What we have is mainly, if you think about it, what do we have on record? 83,000 people. And when you look at the way we get our money, our budget is a lot lower than those other two cities, even though we're a pretty big city. So you just got to mainly is to promote our programs, is to stimulate. And a lot of times, I think when you talk to people from outside of San Ramon, they don't even know about San Ramon. They don't realize how big a town it is. So you got to really promote the town. We got great schools, we got great parks, I mentioned, and you know, so basically, to answer your question, just promote our programs, so our existing programs.
Thank you.
Councilmember Veros.
Hi, Bevin.
Hi.
Bevin, advise key development strategy to support and expand existing businesses and attracting new businesses to contribute for city economic development.
Mm-hmm. So what was the question?
So the question is, what is the strategy to support and expand our existing business and attracting new business? Do you have any strategy how we can do that?
No, I think I mentioned it before. Mainly, we just got to promote what a great city we have, and the businesses will come. It's like when Trader Joe's decided to come here. Trader Joe's located in Dublin and Pleasanton and Danville, and they didn't even realize what they had in San Ramon, and it took them a while to get here. I think we have a struggle in regards to this city, in regards to really its strategy. We don't have a downtown, you know. So when you're gonna attract businesses, right now we got a lot of service. I call it service customers, you know, on the west side of the freeway. You know, when you talk about In-N-Out Burger and all that area up there, and car, what do you call it, repair shops and stuff like that. But we really, I don't know. I think it basically, to attract more businesses, we just got to be able to convey to everyone that we have a lot of people here. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Armstrong.
Hi, Bevan.
Hi.
If a significant employer wants to come to San Ramon, specifically to Bishop Ranch, this post-pandemic, it could mean more traffic for San Ramon. So how do we balance economic development and the potential increase in traffic?
Well, being an engineer, you better synchronize your street lights, and if you could, like what they did in Southern California in the early 70s, you encourage a lot of flexibility in work schedules, and so that you don't have everybody coming in at one time. Pre-COVID, if you remember, Bollinger was jam-packed. I mean, it was packed all the time, people commuting in. And now I think the roads are kind of like designed pretty good right now because everybody's staying at home. I think it's going to change, quite truthfully. I don't think there's going to be many people going into work as before. That's my prediction. But really, it's coordination of your streetlights. I think they do a pretty good darn job already. When you go on Coe Canyon, I mean, if you're going there, all the lights are pretty much synchronized. It's the way it was designed. So.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Perkins, you have the final question of the night.
Hi, Bevan, thank you for joining us. So what do you think is the highest priority for the EDAC to accomplish this year? This year, right now, between now
This year?
Yeah, what's your highest priority for EDAC for this year?
I was going to say something not politically correct. We're going to correct everything Governor Newsom screwed up on. Basically, he shut down all businesses, right? So basically, what we have to do is try to get businesses back up. I did not like his strategy at all. So how do you make it easier for businesses to get back up? Right now, when we talk about where you want to dine and stuff like that, there's not a lot of options. All right. So we're on restaurants and businesses like that. I don't know. I don't have the answers, quite truthfully.
Thank you.
Okay, Bevan, thank you very much. We're going to make a decision hopefully in the next 20 minutes. And you will be notified along with all the others on what the decision is. Again, thank you for applying. Thank you for the years of service. And I love that flag you've got behind you. You can bring that into City Hall and I'll guard it for you.
Oh, the Masters?
No,
Which one?
The Masters. Anyway, thank you very much and have a good evening.
Hey, thank you. I thank you guys. You guys are doing a great job in light of what's happening with COVID and everything. This city is a great city. So
you bet, and you're part of it. Thank you very much, and we will adjourn to making a decision right here. We're not adjourning, but go ahead, Scott. Did you have a question?
Bevan, that we've spent a few $1 million on the on Bollinger and Coe Canyon on the traffic signal systems there.
I keep thinking it was 3+. It was a bundle.
Yeah, it's a big bundle.
That might have been the 4th most emails I got. That signal won't change. No,
I remind people to contact our traffic engineer with the date, time, and direction and location that they were, if there's a problem with the signal, like it's a real short cycle, or it opens, it lets a left turn go when there's nobody in the left turn lane. Something that's an obvious fault.
I gave him Abram's phone number at home. Anyway, how do we proceed from here, Christina? What do you need from us? Just chit chat and
So I can go ahead and share my screen like I did last time, so you can see the list of candidates, and you guys can we can either go council member by council member, or you guys can discuss as a group what your top
Well, let me do it this then while you're putting that up. If anybody has some glowing recommendation to say, go ahead and do it. Go ahead. And after that, then I would just say, let's just stay with the in the order that we made the questions, and I'll start it off and we'll go from there. But Sabina, you have the first comment, statement, and then Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, so my comment is on Natalie. Even though we didn't interview her, her resume really stuck me. She's the director of Tri-Valley Visitors Bureau, former director of Tri-Valley Visitors Bureau, communication director.
She caught my attention.
Yeah, so I am certainly, based on her resume, I'm certainly considering her because I think she's got some really good communication background that could add a lot of value to this committee.
Okay,
And
Scott?
No, I Jason, I don't know how we can not include Jason going forward. He's the current chairman of EDAC, and he's the history of EDAC, if you will. So Jason's clearly a keeper. Bevan, has been on the committee for a while, and I look forward to. I hope he gets selected to stay. I thought he did particularly well.
Go ahead.
Krupa surprised me in that she had some depth in terms of understanding the questions and providing thoughtful answers. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that much depth because of, some level of experience that kind of comes with growing older. But I thought you're shaking your head, Sabina.
Yes, I am. That's an assumption.
Well, and it's good to break those assumptions.
Yeah.
And so I was, I deal with young people all the time, and when you ask them deep questions and they give you shallow answers, it kind of reinforces what you thought. But I thought she did remarkably well in providing thoughtful answers that were, deeper than just yes, no, those kinds of things.
So Scott, I'm noticing a trend here as we're interviewing, that we are having younger, which is like in their 20s, a population which wasn't in San Ramon for a while, but they are here now because with COVID, they're moving out of cities and into and I mean, I'm really liking the fact that they want to get involved, and I think it's certainly going to add a lot of value to our committees and commissions to have some of the young folks.
Obviously, she can learn a little bit more that there's not going to be another great big shopping center out in Doherty Valley. As much as she would like it, she talked about options about where to buy things, and we're going to be lucky to get a gas station and some fast food out there in that.
Or stick the knife in my back. I wasn't upset about that one at all. I'm still mad about it. Let me see if I can move this along and we'll get people to do what they need to do. My first three picks I have are Jason, Jennifer, and Krupa. I really think Krupa gave you something that's different than what I was looking for, but she can explain her position. And like she said, she's the millennial vote. I would hate to take Bevan off, and I'm really debating about it. I also have Natalie in there. I'm just not sure whether it would be as the alternate because she didn't interview. That's a tough one for me, so let me hang on for that. I'm going to leave Bevan in. I get it. The person that surprised me maybe the most, I mean, I like Steve, I like Peter, and the depth, and I hate leaving it, but Bankham at the end, first I wrote him off because he just gave me a one-word answer. But I started looking at this guy's resume and everything. Of course, if you want to look at resumes, go look at Krupa's. I mean, that's downright scary. And I'm really torn here. I've got like 3 or 4 people for the last 2 positions. And maybe I'm at a loss for that. Now I'm going to go with actually what Sabina was saying with Natalie for the 5th one. That not chamber, but that Visitors Bureau has been such a huge thing for us. It crops up in elections, it's everything. And I just think it's that one advantage nobody else has in there that she does have. Plus, one of the things I'm looking at is everyone that I'm voting for here, I think the first 7 people all are in 94582. I want somebody from this side of town. Remember how I always tell Sabina, well, you got to put a woman in there once in a while or we're going to, but we're looking for that diversity. And I think those would be my 5. And if not, like I said, Natalie would be my alternate choice. And it's one of the 3, Peter, Steve, or Bankham for the regulars. So that, just to get it going, because we've got to make a decision on that. And obviously the business owners wait, just to throw it out of the way. So who else wants to jump in? Scott?
Okay, I've got Bevan, Jason, Krupa, Peter, and Steve.
Okay, Mark, you want to jump in? I saw your hand go, or no, Sridhar put his hand up.
Either way.
Okay, go ahead, Sridhar. You're the senior person, Sridhar. Go ahead.
No, I'll let Sabina go there.
No,
Okay, sure.
oh man, that's like saying old. But go ahead.
All right. So I've got Bevan and Jason, Jennifer, Krupa, and Natalie.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll go with first Krupa. Definitely, we need someone who can drive digital, especially with all current COVID situation and post-COVID situation. Or she made the points. I really like that. So definitely Krupa and Jason, with all that experience, we want to have him continue. And Jennifer, Natalia, and Steve. I think Steve, I like him because especially only couple or 3 of them touch base that about our Chamber of Commerce as well as about our traffic advisory committee. More like pretty much a couple of them, that's it. Because, if you don't know what is there right now, how can you expand on that? So that's why I like Steve, that he knows what he's talking about.
Okay, Mark.
So I thought Jason, he was my top pick. And I gave, I guess, extra deference to the other incumbents, Jennifer and Bevan. And for rounding it out for my top 5, I had Steve and Krupa. So Jason, Jennifer, Steve, Krupa, and Bevan.
Okay, let me see if I understand. To me, there's at least 4 people with 4 votes. So they should be our votes. I mean, there's Bevan, Jason, Jennifer, and Krupa. So now you have 2 people with 3, and that's Natalie and Steve. Okay, I would say there's going to be another vote, and what we probably, in my opinion, whoever doesn't, and you guys need to chime in at this point, whoever gets the 2 votes is the alternate.
So I would say, since Steve showed up and interviewed,
Yeah,
we give him, the main, and then Natalie as the alternate.
you guys game with that?
You guys
Because that's
agree?
exactly the way I feel.
That's the way I was seeing it as well. I would have loved to have heard Natalie if she'd have shown up, but unfortunately she wasn't able to make it for whatever reason. But I think Steve would be a fine choice, and we'll go with Natalie as alternate.
Did you hear that comment? I'd be afraid if I were you, Sabina. You're starting to say things I'm thinking.
I'm reading your mind from the other room.
Is that okay, Christina, or do you need some kind of a formal vote on that one too?
At the end, if we could get a formal vote for all of the appointments.
So what we're looking at right now as the regular appointments, Bevan, Jason, Jennifer, Krupa, and Steve. The alternate is Natalie. And the business owner is Wade.
So moved.
Got a motion, Perkins, and
I
a
can second.
second, Zafar. And you need to do a roll call vote on this, or can we be hip-de-dip? What do you need to do here, Christina? Or do I have to go?
A roll call vote.
Do I have to do it here or in public?
You
Or-
are in public.
We are in public.
Yeah,
Okay,
let me stop sharing my screen really quickly.
okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat the motion one more time, just so we're clear. So I have,
I'll move.
No, she's gonna repeat it, Scott. She got it. She's just repeating it so you know when you vote. Go ahead, Christina.
so Vice Mayor Perkins motioned for the appointment of Bevan Hong, Jason Gong, Jennifer Schwinn, Krupa Asumili,
Adusumili.
and Steve Breed for the regular members with terms to expire of January 2023,
Yes,
and Natalie Alvinez as the alternate with terms to expire January 2023,
correct.
and Wade Luckhart as the business owner with a term to expire January 2023, which was seconded by Councilmember Zafar.
Correct.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and get a roll call vote. Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Veros,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now I have to ask you, because I have my traffics in front of me and not this. Is the next item adjourned?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Very good job. And I think when you look at this, how many times are you going to do this? That there is only one person that we didn't all, well, two. I think I had the other one that was up there that we didn't all agree with. In fact, I'm not even sure I put him in. I'm really impressed, folks. This isn't as easy to do as people think. It usually gets, I mean, how many times did we do one, Scott? 5 times or something like that to go through it?
Yep.
And this was a great job. So anyway, enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you. And we'll see you at the next one. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Good night, everyone.